Y'all know what time it is, right? When you all you ought to get live with us, right? Hands up, let's go. I do what I like, I can quit and get it back like I'm riding a bike. Like stop, bring it back. We got that balance, keeping us on track. That you get when you're moving quick with no slow. Stand like you don't care, but you do know. I know, you really must be so lonely. Puffed up like it's tough, but so phony. You and your boys, you don't know me. You really wanna hold me, show me, homie. Get it over with for good. I got a friction addiction, I wish you would. Machine shop rocking when we step inside. And we got everybody so petrified. So petrified, petrified. Step aside and just drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on. Listen, you are not ready. Like children in a building, you can't stand steady. It must be the beat so heavy, causing panic attacks with a crack in the levee. I give you that Robin Plant dancing days of back, feeling all of the tracking. In fact, for those knowing the name of black, what's some brand new crack? We can do it like that. You really must be so lonely, puffed up like a tough but so phony. You and your boys, you don't know me. You really wanna hold me, show me, homie. Tough talk doesn't mean a thing. Get over yourself, you know when we're up in the scene. It's machine shop rocket. We step inside and we got everybody so bad. Hands up, yo, why's everybody so petrified? Petrified. Step aside, just drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on. Why's everybody so petrified? Petrified. Step aside, just drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on. No, got to drop the stage. So like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Y'all are not ready. No, ready. No, about to drop the stage. So like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Get up! Why's everybody so petrified? What petrified? What? Step aside, just drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on. Why's everybody so petrified? What petrified? What? Step aside, drop that. Come on, drop that. Come on, drop that. Say what's up? Come on, like stop, bring it back, bring it back. We got that balance, keeping us on track. Like stop, bring it back, bring it back. We got that balance, keeping us on track. Like stop, bring it back, bring it back. We got that balance, keeping us on track. Like stop, bring it back, bring it back. We got that balance, keeping us on track. Like stop, machine, stop, Make some noise for yourselves. Thank you, Atlanta. Thank you guys very much. Hey, have a good time with us tonight. Let's see your hands like shit. Put up, yeah. 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 That's what we do. You know, 10%, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power. What is it? 5% pleasure, 50% pain. 100% reason to remember the name. Like, he doesn't need his name up in lights. He just wants her rather than risk the beat of the mic. He feels so unlike everybody else. Alone, spite of the fact some people still think they normal. He knows the code. It's not about a salary, it's all about reality. Making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up. That hits 20 pussy down, socks picking it up. Who the hell is he anyway? He never really talks much. Never concerned with status, but still even starstruck. Humble through opportunities given despite the fact that many is young because it makes a living from put it together himself, got a picture connect. Never asking for someone's help or to get some respect. He's only focused on what he wrote. His will is beyond reach. beast. And now what unfolds is the skill of an artist. 20% skill, 80% fear. Be 100% clear, cause Ryu is ill. Who would have thought he'd be the one that set the West in flames? And I heard him wreck it with the crystal method, name of the game. Came back, dropped Megadeth, took him to church. I like Bleach, man. Ryu had the stupidest verse. This dude is the truth. Now everybody giving them guest spots. Stop screaming. That's just 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. They call him Ryu sick and he's spitting fire and bite. Got him out the dryer, he's hot. Got him in full minor with top. But a fucking nihilist porcupine, he's a prick, he's a cop. The type women wanna be with the rappers, hoping you shot. 8 years in the making, patiently waiting to blow. Now the record with Shinoda's taking over the. He's got a partner requirement. It's equally dope. You won't believe the kind that comes out of this kid on the top. He's not your everyday on the block. He knows how to work with what he's got, making his way to the top. He often gets a comment on his name. People keep asking him, was it giving that birth that doesn't stand for all that with him? No, he's in the groove, in the rock in the booth. He'll get you buzzing quicker than the shot of vodka with juice. Him and his crew, I know the rats wanted the best. Dedicated to what they do and give 100%. Yeah, right. Nobody really knows how and why he works so hard. It seems like he's never got time because he writes every note and he writes every line. And I've seen him at work with that light goes on in his mind. It's like a design written in his head every time before he even touches the key or speaks in a rhyme. And those he runs with the kids that he signed. Ridiculous, without even trying. How does it go, yo? 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will. Give it up. 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. Awesome. 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will. Yeah. 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Basically, my two focuses are Linkin Park and Fort Minor. I've got, I'm out playing shows promoting this record. It's been going really well. Every day it's something new picking up, and it's just great that we're getting the kind of positive response, especially from the hip hop community that we are, and a lot of the Linkin Park fans are sticking with us as well. So I should also say we also have a new Linkin Park record in the works. It's going to be out this year. The next Linkin Park record, I think, will further break outside the box of what people try to define us as, because every time that we came out with Hybrid Theory, and I think that was a time when nu metal and rap rock and all that were really at it. That was at its peak, and I mean. I think it's fair to say we were doing that. We were part of that whole whatever it is. But as we moved on since then, I think we've always tried to break the boundaries of that and not be part of that label. We never wanted to be in that genre in the first place. We just make what we make because it's who we are. We kind of don't know how to make music any other way. So this record, I think this next Linkin Park record is going to be further pushing us to push those boundaries and learn new things and try different ideas, and move out even further outside that whole nu metal and rap rock thing, which we never thought we were that much of we didn't want to be part of in the first place. So we'll be moving out of it further. What's funny about being on the road for me is I'm kind of a creature of habit. So I will tend to get in little phases where I'll be doing the same thing all the time. There was for example, playing video games. I will play the same video game every night for hours, just because that's what I've gotten into the little repetition of doing. I went to the Apple Mac store in Chicago. We were there 3 days. I went there all 3 days. That's the only weird thing is I think if I get excited about something, it's partially just to have some kind of normalcy, just something that's consistent every day. So if it can't be waking up and going to sleep in your house with your family there, then it's something else. The hip-hop fans who like the Fort Minor record, they seem to be drawn to its uniqueness, the fact that they've got a CD case or an iPod full of the same lyrics, like the same topics over and over again, and this is an alternative to that. Now, the rock fans that normally don't listen to hip-hop that like Fort Minor, they've been telling me that basically the reason why they don't listen to hip-hop in the first place is because they don't like to listen to all those lyrics, and this record doesn't have them. So either way, it's just I appreciate the fact that fans get into the lyrics, they really dissect them and listen to them, and that they're fans of the record on on those merits. On the whole album, pretty much every song was done music first and lyrics later. There's a couple of exceptions, like Where'd You Go? The song Where'd You Go, I came up with the chorus and the piano at the same time. But that brings up an interesting point, that I actually, on the record, I wrote all of the singing hooks. So when it came to Holly's part, when it came to John Legend's part, I basically played them the thing and said, I'm thinking of having you sing this. Are you open to that idea? And because these people, like I said, because these people, I know these people, they're friends of mine, they're more open to that idea. They kind of, I think if I had asked a person I completely don't know to sing something that I wrote for them, sometimes it might be a little bit fishy. But in the case of these songs, the music kind of just told me, this is what the hook should sound like, and I'd sing the hook on there. And then once that happened, it would occur to me, on this song I need a more soulful vocal like John's. On this song I need a female vocal like Holly's. I worked on most of the stuff on the Fort Minor album at home first. I have a studio at home. I have a ton of keyboard gear and guitars and basses. I actually bought some percussion gear for this. I bought some percussion pieces for this album, because even when it came down to like the tambourine, like I've got 100 tambourine sounds on my keyboard, but I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to make this a kind of a hand-played, more just to have that groove of playing it by hand, and doing a keyboard in a lot of these cases didn't make sense to me. So I'd go down to the store, buy a tambourine, bring it back, set up a microphone, and sit there and do it, Sounds stupid, but it's like little things like that. When they add up, they mean a lot in the big picture of an album. When I'm working with other artists, I always look for things I can learn, techniques I can learn from. Like when we did the Linkin Park album, Reanimation, that's kind of where I first met Black Thought from the Roots, and a number of other people too. It's just like you get in the studio with people and they've got a different attack. Like I know Black Thought, he tends to get faded and then really get in. It's kind of, he's almost like the Jimi Hendrix of rap. You know what I mean? And it works so well. Like his verse is on the song Right Now is one of the best verses in my opinion. I think it's one of his best verses, and it's on my record, so that's great. Whereas like a guy like Lupe Fiasco, who's a friend of mine, he just basically goes off the top of his head the whole time. He doesn't write anything down. He kind of takes the cue from Jay in that sense. So when it comes time for me to write stuff, be it Fort Minor or Linkin Park, I kind of take those ideas and maybe if I'm having trouble writing a part, I'll just I stop and I'll just try and get on the mic and try and get through it off the top of my head. And a lot of times little things like that will help you get over writer's block. The Fort Minor show is definitely something I hope people get a chance to see. My philosophy with the Fort Minor shows is quality over quantity, which is to say we're not going to play that many shows. But when we do play, it's going to be a big deal. We have a group of 11 plus people on stage. It's me, Ryu, Tak, and DJ Cheap Shot from Styles of Beyond. Beat Down is our drummer. We got 3 string players. We got 3 backup vocalists. Plus, on some shows, Holly Brook joins us to sing Where'd You Go. And then on this tour, we've got Eric Bobo from Cypress Hill playing Latin percussion. So that's 13 people. somebody who just came to the show the other day reviewed it. In the review, they said we gave the kids a $50 show for a $20 ticket price, and that is exactly what I was hoping we would be doing. It was basically an opportunity for me to get back to my roots in hip hop, what I've done since God knows how long. I started off basically in piano. I studied that for 10 or 12 years. Then I went into keyboards, and that turned into production. And I was making beats and rapping over them, and that's kind of where we started with Linkin Park. And then once Linkin Park took off, I didn't really get a chance to get back to that. But I did learn so much with Linkin Park about production and about songwriting and about people just traveling all over the world that I wanted to, in doing the Fort Minor album, I kind of used all those things that I learned and brought it full circle. I wrote it to describe kind of the artistic and whatever other kind of struggle it's hard to describe of what I do. What is the math behind what I do and what we do in Linkin Park. The funny thing about this song is that a lot of athletes are coming to me saying they love the song because it's the same for them, and it didn't even occur to me that that was the case. But now we've had it on, it's been on basketball, NFL, Super Bowl, X Games. It's going to be on the Olympics. Like, it's so funny. That song is just completely out of control over there, and I love it because it is. As soon as I heard that, I was like, that is true. It really is the same struggle. Kenji is about Japanese internment during World War II. I'm half Japanese, so my family was interned at that time. They basically were taken after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. U.S. government, there was a sense of like paranoia that went on, and they basically pulled families out of their homes with a duffel bag worth of clothing or whatever, and sent them off to live in camps for the duration of the war. So the story of the song Kenji is pretty much my family's story during that period. On a side note, the song Kenji actually has been kind of honored in the Japanese American community a little bit. I just received an award from the Japanese American Museum, and I think that song was a big part of that. The museum, the president stands behind the song as, like she says it's an accurate representation of what happened. So that to me is a huge success for a little song, The title of the album is The Rising Tide, and the reason I named it that is simply because it's in reference to the group of people that are on the album. This Tide group of people, including John Legend, Common, Black Thought, Styles of Beyond, Holly Brook, and a number of other people. With Jay-Z as an executive producer, this Tide group of people is kind of rising up together within the context of the record. I think it would have been easier for me if I had just gone out and said, Mike Shinoda and put my face on the cover and gone that route. But the reason I chose Fort Minor and artwork for the cover instead of a picture is because I wanted to put the focus on the music. Fort represents the more heavy or aggressive side of it. Minor is the darker, smaller side. And I chose the name because I just thought it kind of stood for what the album is about. The artwork as well is I did a series of 10 paintings. I helped design the package, and to me, just because it kind of comes from me, in the same way that the music does, it just kind of naturally has my personality in it. What I wanted to do with the guests on the record was limit the guest list to just people that I already knew. And the reason that was an issue is that, like, with Linkin Park stuff, that my lyrics are generally more, like, universally personal. But this record is individually personal. Like, it's really, like, these stories are really just for me. And because of that, if I was going to have somebody else on the song and they don't know me, then it just seemed to me like the song will be disjointed. So basically, I just kept, I called friends of mine, and that's how all the little cameos and the other verses came into play. I guess the only person I didn't really know well was John Legend, and we kind of met during the process of the album. And everybody else I was already friends with for anywhere from a couple of years to Styles of Beyond. We've been friends for like 10 years.